Good afternoon, everyone. Hello, welcome to Top GitHub Copilot Features in Visual Studio. My name is Felicia Shah. I am a product lead for Copilot in Visual Studio, and that's me. And joining us in this talk today on this afternoon is Rhea Patel and Simona. Why don't you introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm a product manager working on GitHub Copilot in Visual Studio.
Hi everyone, my name is Simona. I'm a PM in the Visual Studio GitHub Copilot team.
And we're so very excited to bring to you the latest and greatest of Copilot in Visual Studio. I'm really pleased to see this really full room. I've been noticing that steady increase in everybody adopting and wanting to learn about Copilot, and seeing a lot of you from the lab, continuing your learnings from our previous session. So what are we going to be talking about today? We're going to be talking about the Copilot journey, the AI journey. And I'm sure for most of you, you've been along with us, especially if you're a VS user, you're a pro developer, somebody who's been in the industry, somebody who really values the role of a developer at the center of building good software. And traditionally we've seen gray text, autocomplete, as one of those really cool things that the IDE came up with. Really, all that cool, detection, heuristic detection seemed like so cutting edge, and people love that. More recently, we've seen chat come into the IDE space, right? Whoa, what is chat doing in my IDE? I have to talk to somebody to write code? Well, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that, but we are now noticing how it's helpful, how ubiquitous chat-based systems are getting, not just in our ecosystem, but in all ecosystems. And even more recently, right, hot words like agent mode are dropping around. You see this in demos everywhere. And what does that mean? What does it mean for you as you use Visual Studio? And we're here to tell you that. We're here to break the mystery and show you behind the scenes and show you how we, the Visual Studio product team, think about this and how we build our features. We're the team that actually builds this, and not just us, we have a humongous team behind us. So we're really, really proud and excited to bring all their work to you and show you the reasoning behind how we think about the design principles that go into AI integrations into a beloved tool like Visual Studio. So how do we think about this on the VS space? The way we think about it in our product is in two major ways. One is the prompt-first experiences. Think all the glitzy, glammy, new natural language prompt-based stuff that some of you are like, wow, I love that. Some of you are like, yuck, keep me away from that. But it's important because it's where we're leaping forward. There's new models coming in. There's new ways of interacting. There's autonomous flows, agentic flows. There's vision capabilities. There's MCP, these new protocols coming in. What does this all mean? And we have to keep up with that. We have to understand, how does that interact with me as a developer? So that's your prompt-first experiences. In VS, we're committed to innovating along with that journey and bringing that as needed and as we see suitable back into the IDE. But we also know that you're a pro developer who's taking care of really important and big systems, lots of big code bases, perhaps even legacy systems. And we want to keep you at the center of that experience as well. We know an IDE is important. It's a humongous and essential tool, and that's where editor-centric experiences shine. That's where we try to bring in intuition and in-flow integrations. And today, Simona will be talking about that, where we'll show you the next generation of completions with next edit suggestions. We'll show you shortcuts and quick actions and things that keep you in your flow. Because if you're one of those people who's like, I still want to jam out every single line of code that I write, well, we got you, OK? So with that, I'm going to pass it on to Rhea, and she's going to take us through the first section.
Thanks, Felicia. I'm super excited to talk about agents today. Now, quick show of hands, how many of you have heard the word agent this week? basically everyone. It's the hot new thing that everyone's talking about. People are calling it the future of software engineering, the next leap forward. And we've been hearing a lot from you all, our Visual Studio customers, on, when can we see agent mode in Visual Studio? Is it coming? What does this mean for Visual Studio? And I want to say that we heard you. Our engineering team has been working tirelessly over the last couple months to make this happen and make this real. And as of last week, I'm really excited to share that agent mode is live in Visual Studio. Awesome. Quick show of hands, how many of you have actually tried it?
Wow.
That's a decent number, more than I was expecting.
Yes.
Well, for the ones who have, I hope you like it, and I hope you're giving us feedback. For the ones who haven't, I really hope this is the talk that convinces you to try agent mode in Visual Studio. For the people that don't know what this means for Visual Studio, I want to kind of give a picture. It's kind of like giving your IDE a brain and hands. It no longer just helps you write code. It will help you build, debug, run commands, edit, and it just gets the job done. You prompt, it will act. And we're no longer talking about AI as your passive AI assistant. We're talking about it kind of like your AI teammate. And now that's a lot of hype, so let me get right into it. I'm going to open up my browser, and everyone's been using eShop, I'm sure, throughout this conference, and I wanted to be a little different, make a little tiny shop. So I'm going to open this up. You'll see that I have this little blank homepage and a product section. This product section is completely blank. I think this is a great place for us to work throughout the session and populate. We even have a backend here that has minimal APIs that we can utilize to fill out this data. So with that, let's get started. OK, so I'm going back to Visual Studio. And you'll notice, normally you'll see agent mode right around here. I don't see it. Let's go enable it. I'm going to go to GitHub Copilot, to Settings, Options, and it's the first option under GitHub Copilot. Once I press this, it's enabled. Now, this is only for so just to be really clear, this is available right now. So please go enable it. In 30 days, you're not even going to have to do this. It will be directly available right here to get started. So
Cool. Rhea, so now you have agent mode here, but I still don't really understand. You mentioned it's like a teammate, but how is it different?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think the main difference is that it's extremely task-oriented. Once you've provided a prompt, it will be able to understand, like try and interpret your prompt and be able to just continue to run until it gets to that point. It's really focused on getting the job and the goal done and doing multi-step iteration to get there.
OK, show us how it works.
Awesome. So actually, just before I start, you'll notice I have Claude 3.7 Sonnet enabled. I'm actually going to go right ahead and change it to 4.1, mainly because this is a brand new model from OpenAI that just got released, and it actually is the fastest one, in my opinion, right now. And a little fun fact about it, 04 used to be the default, and now this is the new default. So it's available to everyone to use. So I'm going to go ahead and just add add a prompt to ask Copilot to generate like the front end for this, hook up the back end. And because I already know exactly what context I want to add, I'm just going to re-emphasize it by directly adding this reference.
So you're just adding a reference in case.
In case. Copilot actually uses a thing called tool calling, and because of that, it can automatically retrieve information. I just want to reinforce it because LLMs are non-deterministic. You never know when they decide not to do something.
Totally, yeah.
OK, let's see what it does. So you'll notice instantly it starts grabbing a bunch of references. This is the context it's using to build up the response. You'll notice that it's actually generating a plan as well. You have a back end and front end. It's trying to figure out what to modify, and it started making a bunch of tool calls.
Yeah, I noticed there's a lot of under files that it's calling. What is tool calling exactly? I've heard that word a lot. What does it do?
Yeah, that's a good question. Tool calling is how Copilot is able to perform actions and retrieve information. We have a bunch of custom tool calls in Visual Studio that can access functions around your IDE and your code base. And it's like, so when you give Copilot a prompt, it determines your intent and selects the relevant tools in its category. That's why you're seeing things like file invocation, it's reading errors, it's even going to be able to build a bunch of things till it gets the goal that it actually wants to.
Cool. I see there's also like red and green diffs going on. So is it actually editing the file? How does the Copilot know where to add or insert the code?
That's a really good question. So fun fact, I actually forgot to turn this off, so I'm going to stop debugging so that Copilot can run. That's another tool call, fun fact. So this actually uses tool calling as well, and we have this really cool technology that we've built in. So as you can see, this is it's adding to an existing code, like a code page. And you know what, like this is a really hard thing for us to get right, because like figuring out exactly where it should go is really important. If you don't put a line or character, if the line is off or the character is off, your code won't even build. And so we've actually like implemented a new way of actually code mapping. We use a small language model to look at things like your scopes, dependencies, naming conventions to pinpoint the precise location in which this code should be generated. And then we pass on to an even better, smarter, and larger language model to actually generate the high quality code that you're seeing here.
Oh, interesting. So the small model is like a GPS and the big model actually does the work and insert the code.
Exactly. It's like a tag team. Imagine someone's looking for curbside parking and someone else is parallel parking in.
I mean, I think this is fantastic because the value of Copilot is not just that when it generates snippets, right? It always is able to generate snippets, but it's about actually applying that correctly in the right way where it is actually compilable without errors. So I think code mapping is really the magic that makes agent mode run really well.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'm just going to move forward a little bit. Something else you'll notice is it used tool calling to not just generate this code, but it continued to iterate. It like found errors that even Copilot generated and then tried to fix them until it got to a place where it could actually run this build. And this is all done through the magic of tool calling. Sorry about that. So with that being said, like the code's looking pretty good to me, and it looks like the changes that I was wanting. I'm going to go ahead and run it and see what it did. Now, just to preface, what I'm expecting, hoping that it will do, is just provide a bunch of the information that was in the backend, like product, description, and pricing, and even some images, all in some sort of format in that product page that we looked at previously.
Like get you started with, at least something on the front end.
100%. So this is the home page. Nothing's changed. That's fine. The product page, fingers crossed, will show a table with all the things I was looking for. That's awesome.
I mean, it's fantastic, as you hear. I mean, it was just a single prompt, right? And agent mode was able to iterate, and like you said, it was goal and task oriented and get you to a pretty good starting point.
Absolutely, yeah. Your turn.
Okay, so now that you've made all these changes, where are you going to iterate next?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think that's a really important question for people in this room, because I know a lot of people in Visual Studio aren't just doing greenfield scenarios, they're adding on top of existing code bases, right? And so, Felicia, I have this issue that my designer created a design for. He wanted a design that looked similar to this so that we could actually replicate that. And I can use the power of copy-paste and actually add that to Visual Studio.
Copy-paste?
Copy-paste. I can copy-paste this directly into the chat window and try and get agent mode to replicate something similar to this.
Wow. Okay, I'm super excited to see this. And you're going to keep the changes.
Exactly. I'm going to keep the changes. They seemed like they worked well. And I'm just going to move off that and copy-paste this image in. I'm also going to ask Copilot, just reinforced by providing some more information, to make the product page look similar to this. And let's go.
So all you did is you just pasted an image and said, make the product page like this.
Exactly. And you don't need to just paste it like that. You can upload the image. You can look at there's a bunch of new context providers that you can also add just right there.
I could add like Figma files, like site maps. I could bring my UX designer so much closer to me. I bet he would love that.
Yeah, exactly. So I just want to re-emphasize the value, the really cool thing that Copilot can do here is it can analyze this image and add additional context automatically to generate a really good response. You know, our underlying models are trained on like images so that they understand text, they can understand patterns, they can understand shapes and textures. And so you will get a really good response. You'll even notice that it was pulling references again.
Yeah. And there's also, what is Copilot instructions.md?
That's a really good question. So custom instructions is something that we have in Copilot. It's really where I jot down things like preferences around my styling. So you can see that I had a bootstrap styling, so Copilot, it just reinforced the message to Copilot that this is the kind of way that I want it to construct my code. I also sometimes use it for XML comments. So if there's a particular way in a project that I want it to be like commented out, that it really helps Copilot learn that.
I see. So every time you ask a question, Copilot will read this file.
Exactly. It silently appends like every single prompt that you write. And so before it generates a line of code or generates even a statement, it actually takes that into consideration so you get the most custom prompt to what you're looking for.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So it's like giving Copilot access to your style guide, linter rules, architecture, and even team quirks all in one place and not needing to have to remind it over and over again.
Yeah. So let's see, did it actually do what it's?
Yeah, that's a great question. And look what we've got. So this is another tool call. It's actually trying to run a command in the terminal so that it can do this task. And I'm going to allow it this time to do that. Whoops. OK.
That's
okay.
Live demo right there for you. While you figure that out, I wanted to point out that it's so cool that your tool call also still gives you asks you for permission, right? Yeah. So, and this is something that we're very aware of and want to be very careful of, is that you are still, the main person running this, and you don't have to have them just go do random stuff without your knowledge. So anytime you have some tool that's executing on your behalf, you have control over whether you want it to execute with permission every time. If there's a trusted tool call that you use often, you can always allow it to run it. And you saw that was a confirmation message, so it puts you in the driver's seat always.
Yeah, that's important. So it just does not do sneaky stuff behind, and I don't even not aware of it.
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely. So I do. So I want to share. I think it was really cool. The really cool example of when Copilot can use tool calling to get out of a bad state. It was looking for this file, and then it was trying to produce a bunch of code, and it wasn't able to, and it just continued to iterate until it actually did that.
Oh, so, wow. Recover itself.
Exactly. That's the beauty of tool calling in agent mode.
It's like self-healing in some ways.
Right. Let's see it run, and then let's say that. This seems to be done. I'm gonna stop debugging. I'm gonna rerun this code with these new changes and see what happens.
Yeah. While we wait this to build, I noticed, Rhea, you're copy pasting prompts back and forth a lot, and it's not the best experience. And I have a really good news for you. We are going to have a new feature called prompt files coming up soon. So you can store all your favorite prompts in a particular location and just reference them using the pound sign. So no more need to copy paste from your clipboard.
Wait, that's really cool. It's going to save me a lot of time.
Yep. It's like saving you from those paper cuts. That's kind of annoying. That's awesome. Yeah. Okay. We have this loaded.
Right. We're in the product section.
Moment of truth.
Hey, and it did that. So it looks very similar to what was on GitHub. This is really cool. If I wanted to, I could continue to iterate on this just using agent mode. And guys, this was true prompts. It's kind of impressive.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that was really cool. And while I love that for us, I noticed that you used a GitHub issue to paste an image into GitHub Copilot. Shouldn't GitHub and GitHub be friends and know that they're talking to each? I mean, how do I get GitHub Copilot to know about my GitHub issue?
That's a really good question. And that's something that we can do now with this thing called MCP, the other hot thing that everyone's been talking about this week. Having an MCP server is kind of like being able to plug in a bunch of the different things you work on to connect it to Copilot. You can plug in your entire stack. You can plug in GitHub. You can plug in CI pipelines. You can plug in monitoring dashboards, anything you can think of. Copilot can not only read this, but it can act on this information. And you don't even have to leave Visual Studio to do it. So, interesting what's happening there. But I'm going to come out of this and keep this information. I'm going to go into showing you a little bit about MCP. So MCP.
You're going to show us how to hook it up?
Exactly, yeah. So MCP is really simple. You have a mcp.json file in your solution area, and you can add any MCP servers that you want there. You just have to copy a little bit of this code, and you can see I've enabled GitHub here. You can also, we also respect different MCP servers from different places. So if you have one in VS Code, we can also take that and read it. So you can transfer knowledge between editors.
Totally, and as some of you may know, MCP is an open protocol, and there's a lot of third-party MCP servers that you can bring in. They all have ways and arguments and how you set it up. So it's just as simple as configuring your JSON file. What's really important is that we understand bringing in servers is kind of scary. So make sure you do it from trusted locations. VS, we only run MCP servers and from the trusted folder sort of methodology. We're also bringing more governance and admin control. And we're going to have options on the GitHub level to sort of turn off and on MCP support in general for those of you who have concerns over that. And even later on, we're going to fast follow with trusted MCP servers because I know some of you work in organizations where they may not be happy with you just blanket opening to any MCP server. So on VS, we're very committed to keeping up, but also serving your needs. So anyway, I'd love to see the GitHub MCP server.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you enable any MCP server right within your JSON, you can select this tools option. You can notice that I actually have 10 of them selected already, and they're the ones that we use just to do agent mode. So you can see what it has access to. But
so is the top one your MCP server?
Exactly. So the top one is the MCP server that I've enabled. It's called GitHub 2. Very creative name.
And you select that, and you can also kind of go granular in the selection of your tools if you want to enable and disable any tools.
Exactly, and it brings me to my point. So Felicia, you asked me why can't Copilot understand my issue? Why am I copying and pasting? With this, it can actually be able to list your issues and understand your issues and retrieve them into Visual Studio. So I don't technically need to do that. I just did, but. That feels like an obvious thing to actually demo, so I'm going to do a different demo and really show you the power of agent mode and MCP all in one. So from this website that we built, I want to take this one step further. It would be great if it had some sort of functionality to add to cart for users so that they can pay for it or actually purchase something. And so that's what we're going to work on right now. I'm going to ask Copilot to create some functionality with adding a GitHub issue directly into my TinyShop test environment, and then provide all the information. And it's going to use rich context from your code base knowledge that we have custom tools for in Visual Studio, as well as the knowledge from the MCP server tools to be able to actually create that issue.
So right now you're creating a task for an engineer on the team saying, hey, can you add some cart functionality? I want you to do this. And perhaps giving them a very well-reasoned set of steps that this is how you can do it.
Exactly. Because it has information about your code base. It's even telling you things like what files to modify. It's giving you an overview of what functionality we want, the approach we can take, as well as some acceptance criteria, which is pretty cool. It also, it shares information about what it's going to modify, how it's going to look, which just gives you more comfort and peace of mind when you're changing things externally. And then what Felicia was saying, we want to keep you in continuous control, especially with MCP servers. And so we have options for you in terms of whether or not you want to allow GitHub or any other MCP server to do this function all the time, if you want it to be one-off or just for this solution.
Running, executing, the allow comes up anytime it's making changes.
Exactly. So I'm going to go ahead and press this because I feel good about that. And you can see it ran that tool call and it created that issue. It's even showing us this information after the fact, which is pretty cool.
Preview of the issue it created.
Exactly. And it's given us a link, so if we did want to select it, we can, which is really cool. Now, I don't want to, I guess the next thing, I'm really excited for the next thing to show you, Felicia. As you all saw, I'm sure everyone saw Satya's live demo of the coding agent. And I'm really excited to share that this is actually available and usable in Visual Studio today.
Wow.
So, yeah.
What does the coding agent do?
That's a really great question. A coding agent is slightly different to agent mode that you've seen in Visual Studio today. It is something that you kind of just pass along some sort of criteria, some issue to, and it can just operate on its own and get the job done until you have to review a PR. It's very much like a handoff kind of agent that runs autonomously and asynchronously for you to be more productive.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, so let's actually try it on this issue that we just created. So I want to assign this to the coding agent so that it can do it. You know, I'm really busy with build, and this is as far as I can get with my tiny shop today, unfortunately. And so I'm going to go ahead and ask the, I'm going to actually go ahead and ask the GitHub participant to create a pull request for my tiny shop to generate, actually not a wish list, generate a add to cart.
So now you're assigning this issue to the coding agent to create changes and then make a PR to automatically add those changes.
Exactly, exactly. And so I changed this to add to cart. I also changed the issue number to the issue that is showing me right here. So let's go ahead and try that.
So that is the coding agent with a different profile photo, like that's GitHub?
Yeah. So this actually is using a chat participant at GitHub to be able to do that. So it's slightly different from the general GitHub Copilot agent. And you can see it actually went ahead and generated a pull request for this, which is really exciting.
So fast.
It was really fast. Let's take a look and see if it actually worked. I'm going to open up my web browser, and I'm going to copy paste this in.
Oh, wow.
You can see that using the information that we just generated using MCP and agent mode, it was able to generate the work to do and use that to actually create the pull request. And so now all I need to do at this point is, since it's assigned to Copilot, it's going to go do a bunch of tasks to make this work. And then once it's ready, let me know. And then all I need to do is review this code.
Hey, that's fantastic. Thanks, Rhea. I mean, I'm super impressed with the fact that you showed us not just the different agentic flows and the way to integrate with MCP, but also we saw like the different ways in which agents can work. We had agent mode, right, which some of you have tried and we're very excited about being like a core part of the Copilot experience. Which is going to be with you, task-oriented, iterate. You have MCP pulling in all this external context. But then you also have this like looking forward in with this coding agent where agents can behave in different ways and like with different degrees of autonomy. You know, they can be your teammate. They can also be your subordinate. You know, you kind of go like, hey, make this happen for me. And that's fantastic. And I think that's kind of gives us a good overview of that prompt-first approach and keeping up with all the cool innovation we're seeing in this space.
Absolutely. So Simona, have I convinced you of agent mode?
Yeah, I have to say that's really convincing demos. But you know, sometimes what if I just want to switch back and use the familiar chat mode I have, and how can I do that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. You know, it's actually kind of simple. So if you press agent, you can go right back to ask mode. And what's really cool about ask mode is it actually has even more models than you get in agent mode. You have more reasoning models that are more fine-tuned to work in more of a chat one-to-one interaction. But you've got to keep in mind you will have more summaries, explanations, and code snippets with this, not multi-step execution.
That's cool. I love playing with different models.
Awesome. So I hope this convinced everyone. Please go to 1714 and get agent mode. Back to you, Felicia.
Thanks, Rhea. And these were the prompt-first experiences that you saw. We're going to switch gears now and bring in Simona. And you know, harkening back to the intro, Simona is a big advocate of, hey, I want to kind of write my code, all right? And stay in the editor and see what Copilot can do to help me get there. So Simona, what do you have for us today?
Yep. So first question, how many of you have used GitHub Copilot completions before?
Oh, wow.
That's almost everyone, right? Completions is the first thing pop up in our mind when we think about AI in editor, right? It was one of the original OG feature exists from the very beginning. It's really good at auto-completing the code you are currently writing, or if you're on a blank file, give you a template so you can get started. But it does has its own limitation that it can only generate new suggestion at your current cursor location. But sometimes we're not always writing new code. Developers go back and forth in their file, make edits, make changes, and it could be frustrating sometimes. Copilot completions keep giving you something new, which is not what you wanted. So that's why we're super excited to announce Next Edit Suggestions, or NES for short, to support your editing activities. So NES, it further augment your completions experiences by leveraging the previous edits you made in your editor. So store them as an edit history and use that to predict the next edit, which is most likely to come. And unlike completions, NES can pop up anywhere in your file. And it can be, the suggestion can be a deletion, insertion, or mix of both. So let's take a look.
Yeah, I'm super excited because it seems like a very subtle difference what you're talking about. So I want to see it in action to understand it better.
Wrong screen, my bad. OK, we're back on this C++ file. And for those who are familiar with C++, you might notice, why is it using this weird old C syntax, right? We want to have the C++ standard template library, or STL. So let's change the syntax. So I don't want printf. I want to have standard output. OK. While I was typing, boom, something happens. Let me pause and explain. So first, you'll see this tab to accept hint bar. So tab is still the secret key for everything happening here. And you also see this red and green div, which is different from the gray text from completions, because completions can only insert code, but NES can delete and replace. So we want to make it super clear to you what is the before and what is the after using this div style. So let's go ahead to tab and accept. One thing I want to also point out is NES does not only change the printf, but when I was changing printf, it understands my intention of updating it to STL, so it also changed the fgets function for me, because it understands, what the logic of the task I'm doing. And then here, as I mentioned, NES can pop up anywhere in your file, not just at your current location. So we have this new hint bar, which is a navigation hint bar. It has tab and also an arrow key. Sometimes it can pointing up, sometimes it's pointing down. It's basically telling you, look down, we have a suggestion for you down there. So again, I tap to the location and tap again to accept.
Wow, that's fantastic. It's subtle, but I obviously see the difference from completions in that it's actually understanding that you're trying to refactor something and giving you additions and deletions and everywhere in your file.
Yeah, exactly. And as soon as I accept the previous one, more relevant ones will pop up. Even though refactoring is a super minor task, but sometimes it's just annoying and time-consuming to find the exact place I need to change one by one. And now I have NES to lead the way for me, and I just tab.
I mean, in some ways, this is like the basic principle of AI, right? It's like reducing toil. I mean, you're slowing down to show this to us. It's a pretty simple example.
Yeah.
I want to know, does this work well in like a more real-world example?
That's a good call out, Felicia. So let's pull up the classic big eShop example. So maybe many of you are already familiar with eShop during this Build conference. It's a .NET application built with .NET Aspire. And just from looking at the Solution Explorer, you know this is a real-world project. It's also an e-commerce website that is selling outdoor gears. And for the purpose of this demo, we're going to focus on web app components, which is a Blazor component library that defines the information are displayed on the website. So here we have the catalog item file. So it has the name of the product we're selling, description, price, and I want to add additional field here to indicate if this item is currently in stock. So I'll add a Boolean and in stock. And let's scroll down the file, and we'll notice we also have a catalog item object that shares the same field as the catalog item before. And some of you might already notice, when I'm moving my cursor down below to line 26, NES pops up.
Oh, in the gutter right there.
Yep. And then NES, unlike completions, which is only triggered by your keystroke, NES is also triggered by the movement of your cursor. Because we want to help you stay in the logical flow, so we want to get the information of where we're at so it can give you the most logical suggestion based on the location you're at.
Very magical.
Yep, let's hit tab to jump to the location and hit tab again to accept.
Wow.
And yeah, and it seems like completions want to ask, do you want to make this default false? No, thank you, friend. And we also have the constructor for the object here. And then as I move my cursor in this region again, suggestion pop up.
Hey, Simona, will this work in other files?
Good question. Let's check it out. So actually, I have other Razor files that is also defining the front end information. And here we see we have name, price of the item, but I just switched and put my cursor here, and yes, understands.
Wow.
And gave me the suggestion.
That's
so
fantastic because you didn't even actually save or commit those changes, and it knew that it needed to make changes not just in the current file, but in other files to complete the logical change of adding that parameter.
Exactly, that's the magic of the edit history helping there. So let's tap to jump, tap to accept. And then the one last change I want to make is within this catalog service. Scroll up. So I have a get catalog item objects, and I only want to get the in stock ones. So I'll rename the function, and I think we need to make corresponding changes down below. And again, I've moved my cursor, and yes, jumps into help to add the filter.
That feels so natural.
Yeah.
Tab.
Very intuitive, very in your flow, but also powerful.
Yeah, exactly. NES can be good for many scenarios, like the simple refactoring we saw with the previous demo, but also good for those more logical changes, like adding or removing a variable or changing the intention of your class, of your method. So I hope you are excited and want to try it out. It's available for you right now in 17.14. All you need to do is go to Tools, Options, while it's loading, zoom in so we can see it clearly, GitHub,
Settings.
Yep, and go below to Copilot completions and check Enable Next Edit Suggestions. And you'll have NES to help you out in the editor.
Hey, that's amazing. Okay.
Yep, so, well, actually I have a question for you, Felicia. When you're writing code, how often do you copy paste?
Why you gotta call me out like that? I believe in only pasting code, copy pasting code, because we actually have a core competency in Microsoft where we like to leverage other people's success. So yeah.
That's a good reading of that. And same, like copy pasting is a very frequent and common developer activity. And not sure if you all have heard this. Good developers not only write good code, they also copy paste great code, right? And I think we all had this experience, like we found something relevant or interesting online, and I want to paste it into Visual Studio. And boom, instantly gives us 10 plus more compiler errors and all the red squiggles. And we have to spend the next 3 or 5 minutes to go in and fix them one by one. Oftentimes, copy-paste come with these extra steps required, or the cleanups you have to do, such as adjusting your parameters, fixing the coding style, or even the most minor thing could slow you down your workflow. So that's why we're super excited to announce Copilot's new capability to automatically adjust the code you pasted to save you time and effort from doing all the minor tasks yourself.
Oh wow, really? Okay. I'm excited for this one particularly.
Let's jump into it. So from these two get catalog item function, you'll notice I have the same lines of code for building a URI for the API call. So why not we create a helper method and use it in the functions. So I want a private string get URI, and I'll just hit the magic key, Control V, and automatically you see this hint bar pop up. It says tab to adapt code. So I'll hit tab, and it will go into this 3 dots, which means Copilot is thinking, oh, it's thinking pretty fast, and it already gives me something back. Let me come back and see what is the code I have. Seems like adding a return. That's great. Also, it's helping me adding all the necessary parameters I need, and I can just tap to accept that. So I don't have to figure out what are the exact things I need. And all the red squiggles just goes away. I need to remove the old header.
Wow, no more need to like copy things from Stack Overflow and spend an hour trying to figure out how to use it.
Yeah, exactly. Dev-to-paste is also good for many other scenarios that I didn't get a chance to show today. It can help you complete interfaces, or when you're copy-pasting things of different languages, like you are copy a C++ into C#, it will automatically adjust that. Or even copy-paste like Chinese into English, translate both languages.
So how did you invoke that?
Yeah, it's also available for you right now in 17.14, and it's again under Tools Options. And then Copilot, and then it's under the editor. Oh, let me find it actually. Copilot, editor, and here, enable adaptive paste.
Wow, that's fantastic. Okay.
Yeah, now let's keep working on our catalog service. So I'll scroll to the bottom of my file, and I still have 2 functions I haven't implemented yet. All I have is this not implemented exception. And if I move my cursor over here, of course, our NES friends want to jump in and help, but not this time. And we also notice we have this light bulb popping up. This is a quick actions feature in Visual Studio that exists for a while and pretty popular. It's really good at generate, modify the code just with one single click. And sometimes it pops up as a light bulb, sometimes as a screwdriver. And we have added this Copilot magic to quick actions as well. You have the option to implement with Copilot to help you implement this empty C# function. While it's loading, I'll quickly explain what is happening. It's grabbing all the necessary context, looking at the types, like the catalog brand I have here. And let's take a look. It's pretty good. Almost there, just this one compiler error where this could be null, and compiler is reminding us. It's like, relax, compiler, it won't be null, it'll be good. Yeah.
I think that's really cool, Simona. So wait, you just clicked a button with implement, right? So, I mean, you showed me adaptive paste, and then you showed me implement with, and then there's also like NES, and there's completions. But I also know there is, isn't there like an inline chat inside the editor? What is the difference between these things, and how do I think about all of these concepts?
Yeah, that's a really good meta-level question, Felicia. So let's actually pull up inline chat, so ask Copilot. So the way I think about all the different modalities we have in VS is to satisfy and responsive to all the different developer needs we have out there. And then each developer have their own workflow. For inline chat, it's more freeform, and you still need to type out your natural language prompts. Maybe you have some personalized or customized requirements, you want to type it out yourself. But for scenarios like you want to implement an empty method, which is a common scenario, we have figured out the best pre-baked prompts. So you don't have to write it out yourself, and we test it, and then so it's pulling all the necessary context for you.
It's like a recipe, I think maybe some people are familiar with that. Having that quick action is perhaps like, okay, we on the Copilot team have gotten the best prompt for you, the best context available. We've tested it, so we know this is like a routine action that you can just like click on, so you don't have to think about how to prompt the model and how to get the best response. And so that's how I should think of things like implement with and like the quick action associated with that.
Yeah, exactly. Just one click and get you 90% over there.
And then even with things like, when you said adapt with, or like, which is the pasting, it's similar in concept, right? Because technically, I could paste something which has an error, open up inline chat, and say, fix this error. How many of us have done that? Well, I did that all the time. I'm like, fix this. No, not this. No, this. And, it's like, oh, well, it works sometimes. It doesn't work sometimes. Like, what's going on? So this helps give developers a pre-baked, well-tested way for you to do routine things in a consistent manner.
Yeah, exactly. We find these are the common scenarios you do probably on a daily basis, so you just want to make every step a little bit faster for you.
Hey, that's amazing.
Yep. And now done with implementation, and if you scroll and look at this file, I have 0 lines of documentation. And I don't really blame anyone for that. Writing documentation is not the most fun part of programming, but we all know it's a necessary step. It makes our colleagues' life easier when they're doing PR reviews later, or they're just picking up this project from our plate. So some of you might know that in VS, we have this really cool feature. You can tap 3 slashes. Oh, not completions, thank you. You can tap 3 slashes and give you a template of documentation. And what is even better is we have added to have Copilot help you fill in all the details. And it seems like It's loading. Maybe Copilot is like, I'm tired. Why do you keep you triggering me all the times during the demos? Okay.
So is it supposed to just autofill that if you like suggest, hey, write documents here?
Yeah, exactly. What will happen is we'll have the 3 dots bar that will pop up again that we saw on the adaptive paste. And then Copilot will just look at the function you have and figure out what are the most important information and give you a really informative prompt back in here.
Okay, maybe if it's not working here, I could always invoke inline, right? And say, hey, / document that. Maybe you want to try that?
Yes. Let's see. Document this for me. Okay.
Well, this is a novel prompt that we didn't really practice, so let's see. Okay, yeah, it started getting stuff. All right.
Okay, and I need to clean up the previous templates I got somehow over here.
So this is like a really real thing, right? Like sometimes things will not trigger as expected. And this happens to us as well, even though we're like genies and masters of like knowing what to do with Copilot. But we have all these like fallback options. That's really good. Oh, there it is.
It decides to work on the 3rd time. 3rd time is the charm, I guess. And look at that. Automatically, you don't have to pull up inline chat and do the extra step. It's there for you.
That's really cool.
This helps me in the noble pursuit of documentation.
And thank you all. Give it a try. So for both implement with Copilot and this AI dot comments, we're adding Copilot power to these familiar features that already exist in Visual Studio. Visual Studio is really cool, really rich with all the editor features, and we want to make every one of them a bit smarter than before, and so you can have less toil in your workflow.
That's awesome. All right, so we got all the changes in.
Time to commit. Okay, let me put up my Git changes window. I remember like 2 years ago, I was a software engineer intern at Microsoft, and I was making my first commit. And I was really, really nervous. What if I had a silly mistake in my code, and I push it? Everyone will be able to see it. And I think maybe some junior devs in this room share this anxiety with me. Maybe sometimes you want to get feedback from your colleagues, but it's not that easy when it's not published. But you also don't want to deal with all the PR comments come later, which could be very time-consuming. So the good news for all of us is now Copilot can help take a look at all the local changes we have and give suggestions. So this is the button, the magical chat icon. Okay, I need to save my changes. And Copilot's thinking, reviewing all the changes, seeing if there's anything wrong. And boom, it gives me run review. Let's take a look and zoom out. So we'll automatically put it back in. Okay, this was me not cleaning up my code afterwards, and Copilot caught me. When I was copy pasting, I forgot this semicolon over here. Okay, thank you, Copilot. And sometimes you get more comments and maybe multi-file, and you can just click back and forth to view all of them. And
it's really cool to see comments directly in your code so that it's like easier to fix beforehand instead of even having to wait to like see a PR review, right?
Exactly. It would be so awkward if someone says you forgot to delete your semicolon over there.
That would be really awkward.
Okay, so you can also exit this mode via this button over here. Thank you, I'll delete this. And actually, I forgot to use the helper method I built, so thank you for the reminder, Copilot. And now I think I'm more ready than there, and then I can commit. So let's come back to my Git changes window. Oh, I already had my commit message, so I'll close that one. And you see this magical pen button, another favorite button I have in Visual Studio. Just click it, and Copilot is generating a customized commit message for me. So remember the custom instruction demo Rhea had previously? So you can also give Copilot customized instructions on your commit messages. And look at that, thank you. I love the emojis and my signatures over there. And it could be also useful, sometimes our team have clear requirements how we should structure our commit messages for better communication, so it could be good for that case as well. And time to publish and create a PR. So how many of you know that you can actually create a PR for GitHub or ADO inside your VS?
Oh, not that many.
Yeah, so this is actually a highly requested feature from our users. On the developer community, we had like a post with 300 more upvotes asking for this feature. And we heard you because you can do 90% of your work inside VS and you have to switch out for the last 10% to create a PR, which is just not ideal, and an extra step. So we have brought it in to VS. So all you need to do is go to GitHub, because I'm working on a GitHub repository.
If it was ADO, it would be ADO.
Yeah, and then new pull request. Let me zoom in this as well. So again, my favorite magical pen, you can ask Copilot to write a PR message for you, and then you'll see all the commit and changes you have, and then you can just accept and create when you're ready. And for time purpose, I won't do it right now, so I already previously pushed a PR. So here it is. And something even more really exciting is you can also add Copilot as a PR reviewer for you. So that's what I did. And just within a few minutes, it will give you really meaty comments over here, even with suggested code fix.
Wow, so it's on this GitHub portal. It's obviously reviewing on github.com, adding it as a reviewer, giving you even more PR comments. But can we actually view them back in VS?
Good question. It will be a really pain if I have to, context switch back and forth, my browser, my VS, just check out, oh, this is at line 68. Let me find line 68. But the good news is you can directly view all your PR comments inside VS. So less context switching. Come back to this Git changes window.
OK.
And when you have an active PR on your branch and have comments, you'll see this gold bar popping up. And you can just click Show Comments in File. And now VS is working, pulling all the PR comments and finding the correct location to prompt them up. There they are. And it's the same UI as the commit messages, the local code review. And you can toggle them back and forth with these buttons. And it's super convenient. You can set them as resolved directly inside your VS. You can also respond and resolve this PR comment.
That's a much needed feature, and I'm so happy that it's in now.
Yeah, I totally agree. When I used to have just one monitor, and I need to do all the context switching. And it's also really cool because sometimes we have those simple PR comments like, oh, you forgot the semicolon. And you can just do it on the website. But sometimes you got more meatier PR comments like this. It's suggesting I have some error with my unit test, and I probably need to run my test, fix it, build, run again, keep iterating on it. So just really convenient when I can do all of them inside VS without leaving my environment.
Hey, that's fantastic. Well, thank you, Simona. I am super, super convinced even about our editor-centric features. So let's recap in terms of what we saw today and drive home just the power of Copilot in Visual Studio, right? We saw agent mode and the next generation of Copilot chat that allows you to do these autonomous task-oriented work. We also saw that you still have the option to get summaries and explanations and snippets as you need with Ask mode. We saw how you can integrate with MCP servers, keep up with the innovation that's happening in the open source world. Maybe write these MCP servers, bring the context to your Copilot. We saw that awesome vision integration, which is so exciting, getting you started. All these new modalities and the new models, so many new models. Yeah. Oh, now I cannot stay still. And then the second part, the editor-centric experiences, I think it's so powerful that in Visual Studio, we are doing both. We have the ability to keep you at the center, right? Like Simona, I hope, convinced you that next edit suggestions, adaptive paste, implement with Copilot, all these things that you as a developer, it's just something, it's a keystroke away for you, right? It still keeps you the way you are working, just enhances your flow. And allows you to just get more productive, reduce the toil. And yes, with that, we're really excited to have brought this to you, and thank you so much to the GitHub Copilot team for helping and building on all this great work. There's also tons of other features which we obviously didn't have time to get into, and there's also this QR code. Please do go try. all our new features. I would highly recommend staying on the 1714 train. We're going to be making updates every month. So if you are interested in dog fooding, all the new AI features, keep up, on those releases, update, and give us feedback. And if you're more interested in other Visual Studio sessions, we have more sessions coming up today. So thank you very much for joining us this afternoon, and I hope you have a good day.
Thank you.